People like you don't get a voice in this room, Ethan Caldwell said, not even looking up as he slid the contract across the polished glass table, his pen already uncapped, already moving, like the decision had been made long before Marcus Reed ever stepped inside. A few quiet chuckles rippled through the executives, soft but sharp enough to land. Marcus stood near the wall, a folded cloth still in his hand, the scent of industrial cleaner clinging faintly to the air around him. The city skyline stretched behind the glass, sunlight cutting clean lines across the floor, stopping just short of his shoes. He didn't speak. Not yet. His eyes moved once, from the signature line, to a single clause buried 3 pages deep. And for a second, the room kept moving, unaware it was about to be wrong. Marcus Reed had learned a long time ago how to disappear without leaving the room. 12 years working nights, moving through offices after everyone else had gone home, had taught him the rhythm of silence, the weight of being unseen. He knew which lights flickered on the 27th floor, which executives stayed late, which conversations were never meant for someone like him. To them, he was part of the background, like the hum of the air conditioning or the reflection on the glass walls. Earlier that morning, he had been wiping fingerprints off the same table where they now sat, his badge catching the edge of the sunlight for just a second before he turned away. No one had noticed. No one ever did. But Marcus noticed everything. The numbers on the documents left open, the tone in voices when deals were rushed, the subtle shift when confidence turned into assumption. And standing there now, just a few feet from a decision worth more than anything he had ever owned, he could feel it again, that quiet, familiar signal beneath the surface, the kind that said something was off, and no one in that room was looking closely enough to see it. The silence did not last. One of the senior partners leaned back in his leather chair, glancing at Marcus with a thin smile that did not reach his eyes. "Do we usually invite maintenance staff into executive decisions now?" he said, loud. Enough for the entire room to hear. A few people laughed, this time less restrained, the kind of laughter that looked around for approval before settling in. Ethan did not stop them. He capped his pen slowly, finally lifting his gaze toward Marcus like he was noticing a misplaced object. "If you are done standing there," he added, voice calm but edged, "there is a hallway outside that needs your attention." The words landed heavier than the laughter. Someone at the far end shook their head, amused. Another executive muttered, "Unbelievable," under their breath, not in support, but in disbelief that Marcus had not already left. The glass walls reflected it all, the smirks, the dismissive glances, the subtle turns of shoulders closing him out of the space. Marcus felt every second stretch, every eye that did not quite see him, and yet judged him anyway. And still, he did not move. The air in the room shifted, not dramatically, but enough to tighten every breath. Ethan Caldwell's fingers tapped once against the table, a quiet signal that patience was running thin. "This meeting is not a public forum," he said, his voice lower now, controlled, the kind that carried more weight than shouting ever could. "You are out of line." The words did not need to be louder. They were already final. A man near the window gestured subtly toward the door, a silent instruction, while another executive checked his watch as if Marcus had already wasted too much time. Even the assistant by the wall avoided eye contact, eyes fixed on her tablet, pretending none of it was happening. The pressure closed in from every side, invisible but unmistakable. Marcus could feel it in the stillness of the room, in the way space itself seemed to push him back toward the exit. His grip tightened slightly around the cloth in his hand, the fabric twisting between his fingers. He understood the rules. He had lived inside them for years. Do not speak. Do not interrupt. Do not exist beyond your role. Ethan leaned back, already turning his attention back to the contract, dismissing him without another glance. "Last chance," he added, almost casually, like an afterthought. "Walk out, or I will have someone escort you out." The door behind Marcus felt farther away than it should have, and for a moment, the entire room seemed to wait, not for him to speak, but for him to disappear. Marcus took one step forward instead of back. The movement was small, but it broke the rhythm of the room. A few heads turned again, this time not with amusement, but with irritation. Ethan's hand paused just above the paper, the pen hovering for a fraction of a second. Marcus lifted his eyes, meeting Ethan's gaze directly for the first time, steady and unflinching. "Are you sure you want to do that?" he said, his voice calm, almost quiet, but it carried across the table in a way the laughter never did. The question did not sound like defiance. It sounded like certainty. A faint crease formed between Ethan's brows, not yet doubt, but something close enough to slow him down. No one laughed this time. The room held still, caught between dismissal and curiosity. Marcus did not move again. He just stood there, waiting, as if the answer already mattered more than the decision itself. The pen did not touch the paper. Ethan Caldwell's hand remained suspended, just barely, the tip hovering over the signature line, as if something invisible had interrupted the motion. His eyes flicked up again, sharper this time, studying Marcus not as a distraction, but as a variable he had not accounted for. Explain, Ethan said, the word measured, controlled, but no longer dismissive. A few executives shifted in their seats, the earlier confidence in the room thinning into something quieter, more cautious. Marcus did not rush. He stepped closer to the table, just enough for the light to catch the edge of the contract. Page 17, he said, nodding slightly toward the document. Third paragraph under liability transfer. Someone near the middle flipped the pages, the soft sound of paper suddenly louder than it should have been. I scanned. Brows tightened. Marcus continued, calm, precise. It looks standard. It is written to feel standard. But it moves full accountability after 12 months, not immediately. That delay hides the exposure. A pause. No one interrupted. If anything fails after that. Window, he added, your company absorbs it. Entirely. The man holding the pages slowed, then stopped. Another executive leaned in, reading over his shoulder. The room did not laugh now. It listened. Ethan's jaw shifted slightly, his gaze dropping back to the contract, scanning faster, then slower, then stopping altogether. The confidence that had filled the room minutes ago no longer felt solid. It felt rushed, assumed, and for the first time, it showed. Marcus stood still, not pressing, not proving, just present, as the weight of what they had almost signed began to settle into the silence. Ethan read the clause again, slower this time, his finger tracing each line as if the meaning might change under pressure, but it did not. The room watched him now, not Marcus, not each other, just him. The man who had been certain minutes ago. A senior partner cleared his throat softly, then said nothing. The silence stretched. Ethan finally looked up, but the authority in his expression had shifted, not gone, just unsettled. How do you even know to look there? He asked, quieter than before. Marcus did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached up and pulled the lanyard from his neck, the simple janitor badge everyone had already dismissed. He turned it over. Behind the plastic, partially hidden beneath a worn edge, was another card, older, sharper, with a different logo and a different title. For a second, no one moved. I used to review contracts like this, Marcus said, calm, steady, like it was the least important part of the moment. Before I stopped being seen. The words landed heavier than anything else in the room. Ethan's gaze dropped to the badge, then back to Marcus, and for the first time, he was not looking past him. He was looking at him, fully, and realizing exactly how wrong he had been. No one laughed anymore. The contract was quietly pulled back, pages sliding out of place as hands moved faster than before, not confident now, but careful. A deal worth millions had just been stopped by the one person they had already dismissed. Ethan set the pen down, not signing, not speaking, just sitting there with the weight of what almost happened pressing into. The silence. Across the table, no one met Marcus's eyes the same way again. Some avoided him entirely. Others looked, but differently. Marcus adjusted the cloth in his hand, simple, unchanged, and turned toward the door without waiting for permission. He did not ask for recognition. He did not stay for it. And behind him, in a room built on power and certainty, the only thing louder than the silence was the truth they almost ignored.